Welcome back, everyone, to Action Reaction, the action movie podcast, which I know is a glorious description. I like just, it's an action movie podcast, because what else do you need, really, to know other than it's a podcast about action movies?
Well, we could maybe start stealing the intro from other podcasts. That might be fun. Yeah. You're listening to Action Reaction, a bi-weekly American movie podcast. I don't know. We'll work out something with Gareth Reynolds. It'll be fine.
We'll clean it up. We'll get there.
Yeah.
I'm one of your hosts, Zane Simon, our other host, Troy O'Diamonds, and we are here this week to talk about crime, and more specifically, how crime doesn't pay.
Except for when it does.
Fair enough. Sometimes, occasionally, crime pays. You know, I mean, I don't want to set a bad example for the kids. You know,
I feel like this is a bit of a pattern where we say, maybe crime doesn't pay, but it usually does. A lot of the time it does. And you say you don't want to set a bad example for the children, where I want to set a realistic example for children. I want children to know that sometimes crime does pay. Sometimes you get away with it. Sometimes the police are dumb, and it's fine. You make out with all the money. And you know what? Sometimes drugs are fun too.
Hey, gotta throw drugs in there, of course.
I just don't want you to give kids an unrealistic expectation.
And you want them to do drugs.
I mean, I need my crimes to pay. And I need them to buy.
Yeah, you can't undercut your customer base here by telling them not to buy your drugs.
Yeah, and there's no rule specifically saying you're not allowed to sell Molly to kids under the age of 18.
I think there is actually a specific rule about that.
Well, I mean, we can look into that later. I don't think that there is, and if there is, then we need to cut this. Who's our editor? Who edits this?
Molly edits this.
Oh yeah, that's right. Molly edit out the part about Molly.
She won't do that. She would never. All right. Before we get to the show, speaking of which, and beyond Troy's needless promo for drug use and to buy his drugs, we do have an advertiser this week. This week's show is brought to you by Glagnar's Human Rinds. They're a bunch of crunch of human.
And this episode is also brought to you by Thompson's Teeth, the only teeth strong enough to eat other teeth.
So, on that note, crime. Troy, I feel like we live in an increasingly fearful world of death and shooting and destruction, and it's important to note obviously crime is a huge part of cinema because it's just packed to the gills full of people getting killed. I can't even do a rundown of movies about people committing crimes because literally every movie I like is about people committing crimes.
Yeah, I'd say the same.
So it makes me feel, it's very this theme. It gives you so many opportunities to work with. There's so many good potential movies. You basically have the entirety of film history out there to choose from in our crime doesn't pay, but maybe it does theme. What'd you saddle me with?
So I went with a real ensemble cast, or a movie with a real ensemble cast. And just to get you interested in this, we are dealing with 2 Academy Award winners, multiple Primetime Emmy Award winners, and Golden Globe winners.
Ooh, an Emmy.
Yeah. And actually, there's a couple of Grammy Award winners in this too, on top of a Teen's Choice, a Critics' Choice, and MTV Movie Awards winner. So,
Honestly, everything from Oscar winners is kind of actually sets me up for disappointment, frankly.
well, I mean,
Did anybody win a Tony? That would really.
you know what? There's one person in here who might have, but I'm not 100% sure.
Okay.
But the movie we're talking about is a crime thriller from 2006 called Smokin' Aces.
Okay.
This one new to you?
I remember briefly. I dimly recall a poster or an ad campaign for this.
Hold up. Stop looking this up. I don't want you to see the actors. I want you to be introduced to each of them as they come through this.
Okay.
Close IMDb.
Okay, it's closed. Smoking.
All right, let's go. Let's go on this journey. All right. So we start out learning that the inciting thing for this movie is one of the last major mafia guys. His name is Primo Sperazza. And hey, yeah, okay, the name's a little doofy, but roll with it.
Okay, rolling.
And we start with two dudes in the FBI in a van on a stakeout, just trying to find out what they can hear from this guy. And our two guys in the van are Ryan Reynolds and Ray Liotta. Those are our federal agents.
I can't hear Ray Liotta without thinking of the Mystery Science Theater bit where it was, who do you want in your werewolf movie? And the only thing that Crow can think of the whole time is Ray Liotta.
Yeah, that's fair.
The joke, the running joke was then that he smells like apples, apparently. So anytime I hear about Ray Liotta, the only thing I think of is that he smells like apples.
That's actually going to help you through the first scene in this movie where they're like joking around in the van waiting for something to happen, and he's taunting Ryan Reynolds with the piss bottle.
Oh, God.
Hey, they're just two guys having some fun, passing time. So we get some backstory about Sperazza from very serious FBI man Andy Garcia. This dude is hard to track down. He murdered like one of the first successful undercover FBI people like back in the 50s, and like basically just stayed so hard to track. And
so back in the 50s, and this movie's set in like 2002, so he's like 80 now.
Yeah, he's an old man.
Okay.
But he used to be like basically the HBIC in Vegas. And what he's trying to do is kill a guy named Buddy Aces Israel. So Buddy is a big time Vegas showman, magician, dickhead. Basically like kind of on some Sinatra shit, hanging out with the mob. But then like he took it a step further and wanted to actually be a mob guy, and did that and split like the last remnants of the criminal family between him and this old dude Sperazza.
Does he kill people with magic tricks? Because
no, he doesn't.
I would be so sold on a movie about a magician turned mobster who was like, "What's this behind your ear?" and then rips their ear off. That
would be great. To be fair, they do like kind of montage through some like "Now You See Me" kind of things of bank heists, and like I said, he's a douchebag. You want to know how big of a douchebag he is? He's played by Jeremy Piven.
Yeah, the guy who isn't Joe Rogan.
Yeah, no one is better for an unlikable douchebag character than Jeremy Piven.
He does radiate it. It's true.
Yeah. And he's negotiating with the FBI to testify and turn in Sperazza on the other half of the family because that's his way to stay alive and get in witness protection. So they're on this stakeout and they hear Sperazza talking about like some old school Sicilian shit where like they're trying to kill Buddy Israel. They want to take out his motherfucking heart. Like it is some old school shit. And they start mentioning like a couple of hitmen that they might want to bring on. Like there's some Swedish specialists, there's this pair of assassins, it's a couple of things. Then like, you know what? Fuck it. $1 million, open contract.
Very,
You into
that's
this?
very, that's very John Wick. I mean, I know we just did our John Wick episode, but the open $1 million contract is a very John Wick way to.
Yeah, it is. And there's an actor from the John Wick series in here that we'll get to in a little bit. But so these people who are looking to kill him, who are interested in this contract, we have that mysterious Swedish guy. There's a pair of chicks, and one of them is Alicia Keys. There's a montage of like this stone cold, like icy glare torture guy. There's 3 methed up neo-Nazi brothers who just shoot and smash everything like while they're robbing a restaurant or something. And one of them is Chris Pine. It's amazing. Chris Pine is a messed up Nazi.
Oh, Lord.
And then there's just a guy who's really good at disguises.
Is it Dana Carvey? It should be Dana Carvey.
It really should be, but no, it's just you don't want to put a name actor in that. He needs to be disguised all the time. And so these are the people who want to get to him.
$1 million contract, right?
Yeah,
okay.
But they need to get to Buddy Israel before there's this group of ex-cops who became bail bondsmen who are trying to get him out and into custody, led by Ben Affleck.
Oh, Lord.
And hired by a syphilitic Jason Bateman.
Oh, God. Oh, God. Man. So, wait. This is the key test for any movie with Ben Affleck in it to know whether or not you have put me through this horrible, traumatic, bottom-end action movie that I could never imagine watching in my life. Is Ben Affleck a complete douchebag in this movie?
Look, it's hard to say because, like, you know how after you eat something really spicy, it's hard to say that if the next thing you eat is a very delicate flavor or well-balanced food. When you go from Jeremy Piven to anything else, like your palate for douchebagness is destroyed.
Okay, well, this gives me a lot of reservations because the only good Ben Affleck is the worst Ben Affleck.
He's very Boston Ben Affleck.
Okay. I'll take it, but I'm a little worried because Ben Affleck is pretty much trash in anything where he's not the fashionable male sales clerk from Mallrats.
Yeah, pretty much. What's the movie where he tries to do like a budget version of the Glenn Ross speech? We'll think of it later. But yeah, that douchebag Ben Affleck, where he's in a suit and in a boardroom. Yeah, that's peak Ben. So we also get like the necessary scene of Jeremy Piven being as entourage-y as he fucking can in a Lake Tahoe hotel suite hideout because, you know, that's where they're hiding him. And there's passed out hookers, tits at 20 minutes, by the way, coke everywhere. He's being a dick to his security guys and being like, everything's too shitty here. These flowers are like a day old. Get me new flowers. Why is this suite so shitty? It's awful. You fucking hate this guy. So you like don't even feel bad rooting for the hitman. You kind of want him to get got.
Jeremy Piven. You don't. I mean, he could be playing the like, you know, the downtrodden everyman son of abusive alcoholic parents and be like, yeah, kill that dude.
Yeah, he could be Oliver and Oliver Twist, and you're like, no, you don't get more food. Get the fuck out of here.
Hit him with the spoon. Hit him with the spoon.
Yeah. And so I mentioned John Wick earlier. The head of Jeremy Piven's security is Common. This is, I believe, his first movie role, and he is exactly the same in this as he is in every other movie.
I love that his name is Common, too, because it's just
it
so
works.
fitting.
Yeah. And he is a basic, like, common action star.
Yeah.
You just slot him in and forget about it. It's great. Oh, I love this movie.
Stand out in any way. He's just like, he's the common, forgettable action star.
Yeah, and we need those people, and I'm glad we have him for it. So, Jeremy Piven, Buddy Israel, what the fuck ever, negotiations to get him into witness protection. Turns out they're not going very well until he agrees to like turn in his entire own crew. So he's like, well, fuck, I got to do it. So I'm going to go do some sad coke and not tell them.
Do you have different types of coke you do? Are there like different emotional resonances for when you?
Yeah, I mean, and for the children we were speaking to at the top of the hour, yeah, no, we got things for any way you're feeling. Hit me up. I'm holding. So now we have this collision course between all these fucking characters, and Ryan Reynolds and Ray Liotta are also heading to the hotel to like lock shit down. Everybody's going there, unless Ben Affleck and the boys get there first and in time. So those dudes, we see them like stop by the side of the road. Ben Affleck got like the same security uniforms that the hotel uses, and they're hashing out a plan. And then like just in the background, a car drives by just blasting Trivium as loud as they can, like drowning out their voices. Then like the car goes in reverse, comes back into frame, and the meth head Nazis kill all of the Ben Affleck guys unceremoniously. Just because this movie owns. Yeah, kills all of them.
Hey, I mean, that's a good way to get rid of that. That's a good way to take care of not putting douchebag Ben Affleck in something.
Right. I didn't want to give it away, but they really solve your Ben Affleck problem very quickly.
Okay, I can handle that. I'm a little more up on this now. That helps.
Yeah, it's wonderful. You get Chris Pine like making dead Ben Affleck talk with his mouth as he makes him forgive him. It's so funny. It's great.
Oh Lord. Okay. Yeah. I'm being pulled constantly between being intrigued and like I don't want to say horrified, but it's sort of like that.
You're not sure if you want to actually get interested in this or if you just want to facepalm and call me a moron, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of that, and a little mixed with just a tiny bit of the whole like psychosis spaceship monster thing of that horror spaceship movie that I'm forgetting.
Event Horizon?
Event Horizon. There we go. I knew it started with an E, and I couldn't picture it in my mind. But like, there's a little bit of me that's being pulled through this like Event Horizon horror dreamscape. But it's sort of like, is this horrifying? Because the movie wasn't that horrifying. The movie was just kind of like weird for a while and then dumb.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I would say that if you're going to compare this movie to a space horror movie, it's definitely more Jason X.
Okay, well, I'm not comparing the movie to that. I'm comparing you to that. But
okay, I would also compare myself more to Jason X.
Okay, fair.
So yeah, we're back on this collision course. Disguise guy is cooking up a mask and an impersonation of one of Ace's security guys that he killed in the fucking basement. Torture guys pretending to be FBI doing hotel inspections and like conning his way into like getting a hotel security jacket and like the head of security's passes and stuff. Alicia Keys is going up with the next group of hookers while her partner has a sniper setup in a hotel across the street. And the meth Nazis are there too. You want to see how the shit goes? Where Common thinks he's getting sold out?
Oh Lord, yes. How okay? I got to know this. How much of the movie is just a run of batshit insanity?
I would say it doesn't like just go pedal to the metal and stay there, but it gives you a couple of scenes where it just goes in for it.
Okay.
Yeah. So what we get is disguise guy just walks into the suite because he has a good disguise and it's really easy. And security thinks he's the guy that they know. Common knows he's about to get sold out. And the closest thing to what you wanted of magic murder is Jeremy Piven throws a card in his eye and distracts him. And
okay, that's at least something.
Yeah, it's something. And
so he's like a card into his head, and then he's like it says something like pick a card, and he throws it and it goes into his brain.
Yeah, but I feel like that would ruin how pathetic this douchebag is.
Okay, it's true.
Yeah, we don't want him to get a badass moment. It's just his eyes getting more bloodshot, and his whole life is a fucking wreck. So Common is like, oh, fuck, what? And just starts shooting because he can't see. and security guys come in, arrest him, and leave the disguise guy because they think he's supposed to be there. Ray Liotta is in the elevator with the torture guy who's wearing the security chief jacket, notices that he's a baddie, and they just get like hella stabby and shooty in an elevator. You still with me?
Yeah, no, I'm with you. This is okay. You're taking me into some good action moments here. Common getting distracted is, pulled me back a little, but Ray Liotta and stabbing in an elevator has me there.
It's a setup. So we get a pause in the action, and Andy Garcia, the higher up FBI guy, pulls the fucking plea deal. Buddy Israel isn't getting anything. He's not getting witness protection. It's all off. He gets nothing. So now he's all weepy and like gun and mouthy, but he's like too sad, coked up to do it. It's great. It's just, we hate this motherfucker so much. So we start ramping up again. Ryan Reynolds, he's at the hotel. He's got his team of feds, and they're going up the building. And they have Alicia Keys kind of pinned down, and she's hiding in the elevator with the dead people. But her friend across the street thinks she sees Alicia Keys dead, and is like, well, no, I am mad. I am going to sniper rampage, but instead of just sniping, I got a motherfucking 50 cal. So she is just 50 caling people from across the goddamn street. Bodies are flying everywhere. Reynolds is panicking because like he sees his partner die, and then all these other people just getting murked with a 50 cal, and it's just fucking rampaging. And I know what you're thinking, right? You're wondering where the Nazis are.
Oh, yeah, no, yes. Okay, yes, I was wondering where the Nazis were, and I was not at all thinking of my where I'm going to get my next beer. But yeah.
Okay, yeah, it might be from the Nazis, but probably not. So the Nazis show up. They get to the top floor where all the security people are, and they got a chainsaw and machetes and flares, and they set a guy on fire. It's awesome. They're just taking out security, and it was the security that was arresting Common. And so now he's mostly free. He still kind of has handcuffs on, but then he kills two of the Nazis because he's Common, and that's what he does in movies. And then he leaves.
Just exits? Is that like the end of his time in the movie?
Basically, at some point he meets up with Alicia Keys, who's like shot in the leg, and carries her down the stairwell, and they're probably gonna bone. It's great. They don't show it, but you just gotta assume they are, and I'm happy for them.
Okay, I'm glad. Well, yeah, that's a nice. It's nice that somebody gets something out of this. So where's the part where the crime? So I'm seeing a lot of crime doesn't pay. Where's the part where the crime might actually pay?
So the feds leave with Buddy Israel in custody. Ryan Reynolds loses his shit and demands answers from Andy Garcia. Like, why did you pull the deal? Why did you do all these things? Why didn't you send more backup? All the fucking things that you could have done to stop all this carnage, all the people from dying. So it turns out Andy Garcia had gotten a file earlier that turns out Prima Speranza, actually Buddy Israel's dad.
Oh.
Yeah. And the hit, it wasn't supposed to be an open contract. It was just supposed to be for the disguise guy. And all he was supposed to do is bring Israel in alive so that they could take out his heart with this specialist Swedish doctor so he could get a heart transplant from his son and stay alive.
Wait, but it would still kill his son.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're down to kill Jeremy Piven, as we all are, but this mob boss wants to stay alive. And so the reason Andy Garcia let this happen is it turns out Speranza didn't murder that first undercover FBI agent. He was the undercover FBI agent. And they thought he was too close to the mob, so they tried to kill him. And when the FBI tried to burn him, you know what? He's like, I do crime now. I do crime, motherfucker.
Oh, God.
15 years of crime.
I am glad that you told me that twist, because I think if I saw it in the movie in real time, I wouldn't be able to handle it.
It's so good. It's so good. Oh, everyone else is pissed about it. I love this movie.
Oh Lord, that it sounds like a hell of an experience. If nothing else, I'm hoping that I'll enjoy I'm hoping that I'll enjoy Ben Affleck dying early on.
You'll enjoy that. You'll enjoy Jeremy Piven getting gradually more miserable. You'll
That's fair.
probably like Chris Pine as a Nazi. I feel like it's the first movie where they discovered exactly how blue his eyes are.
It's a very important thing to discover. It's true. I mean,
It's his real talent.
It's been the rest of his career ever since then.
Pretty much, yeah.
Oh,
And it all started here. Chris Pine's eyes and Common's career, all from Smoking Aces.
man, I gotta see. I gotta take a look really quick at the poster for this movie because I'm trying to remember what the hell I have in my mind, and it's okay. Yeah, I barely have vague recollections of how this looks, and I've definitely never seen it. But this is going to be an interesting trip.
You are in for a trip.
Okay. Well, on the flip side of that, I've given you one of the all-time great classic action movies, something that I feel absolutely sure you should have seen. So I hesitated to pull the trigger on it, but then I realized that you're an idiot who hasn't seen anything before 1990, and that I could probably be safe in making you watch this.
Yeah, I'd say that's a fair assumption. Also, I drink heavily, so.
So the setup here is that it's a Walter Hill movie, and I can't remember. I don't think I've made you watch a Walter Hill movie yet, have I?
I've never heard that name before in my life, so I would guess not.
You have heard it because I've recommended at least one of his movies to you. I recommended his really dumb rock, weird sort of crime rock musical gang thing called what was it? Streets of Fire, which has Streets of Fire has Willem Dafoe plays the bad guy who wears nothing but rubber overalls for the whole movie, like no shirt, no nothing else, just rubber overalls.
This is 2 episodes in a row where you just said Willem Dafoe and a character, and you don't need to tell me anything else, and I'm into it.
Yeah, and it is the dumbest, weirdest thing ever, and I think you have to see it. But I'm trying to remember if I've made you watch anything else that Walter he wrote part of Aliens.
Okay.
Or Alien rather.
All right.
And otherwise he had a great run of directing with things like The Driver and The Warriors and The Long Riders and Southern Comfort. And this is really the end of his time as a great director. This is his last great movie that he made.
Okay, this is his Showgirls.
This is his Showgirls. Showgirls, god damn you. So, it's Nick Nolte.
Okay.
Eddie Murphy in his debuting role.
Yeah, we're watching 48 Hours, aren't we?
We're watching 48 Hours.
Hell yeah.
Have you seen 48 Hours?
I saw it when I was probably like 10 years old on a VHS at my grandmother's house, which I have no idea how all those things lined up. But that is my only knowledge of this movie. And I probably shouldn't have seen it at that age.
You probably shouldn't have. But it is one of the crowning glories of the early 80s venture into buddy copdom, what became like the buddy cop crime movies. This is 1982. Like I say, it's Eddie Murphy's debut. This is before Beverly Hills Cop, before any of that. And, a lot of the movies I recommended to you are, as you've described, they're hashtag problematic.
Yeah.
A lot of them. We talked about The Man from Hong Kong.
Little racist.
Little racist.
Little bit racist.
There's that part in Brother where he's just like, I don't like Jews, and you're like, oh, I guess that's just a thing because you're Russian.
Yeah, you're just allowed to say that apparently.
Yeah. We're supposed to like still feel for you as like an awesome action star. But this is probably the most problematic movie that I have brought to the table so far.
Okay, if this is worse than 70s Aussie racism, then oh boy.
There is absolutely a scene where Nick Nolte turns to Eddie Murphy and says, "What are you smiling at, watermelon?"
Oh! Okay! Oh man, 80s racism. Holy shit.
And you know, the whole movie is basically just Nick Nolte grinding out crusty racial put downs towards Eddie Murphy.
Oh boy. Does he call him boy?
At least once.
All right.
And you know, and there's another point where he definitely calls him a charcoal-colored loser.
Oof. Oh, this isn't even like a greatest hits. This is just like playing the classics.
Yeah. And it's amazing because it somehow all plays in a way that like you watch it and you're like, okay, wow, this is all like there's so much racism in this movie. But it's also like representative of a time and an attitude and of a way that like you're not like, okay, this movie is just racist and I can't watch it. It's like this movie, like this is how, you know, these are some of the dynamics that people hold, even if it's cartoonishly portrayed here. You know, do you really expect a white cop to be like the most unracist person you've ever met towards a black convict?
As someone from Chicago, no, absolutely not.
So the whole thing opens up with a prison break where two of Eddie Murphy's former I say gang, I don't, you know, this is early 80s, so we're pre like the sort of, you know, a black guy being in a gang was not what became all black guys are gang members later on, basically.
Okay, so this is a real gang, not just Eddie Murphy and his friends.
Yeah, and so it's the they're in, you know, the two of his former gang members for a series of robberies break out of prison, and it's Billy Bear and a guy named Gans, or Gans breaks out of prison with the help from Billy Bear, who's a big Indian, as he's loosely described in the movie.
All right. Do they call him Chief?
At least once, yes.
All right. This is paint by numbers.
Yes, it is. And they break out of, or Gans breaks out of prison, and they immediately go on this crime spree and hunt down all the members of their former gang with the intention of finding $500,000 that Eddie Murphy stashed after a robbery. They robbed a drug dealer and took $500,000, and Eddie Murphy was holding on to it, and they all got busted, or, you know, and Gans and Murphy got busted and went to jail. Everybody else was out on the street.
Okay, but they didn't get any of the money. It's all up to Eddie Murph's.
Yeah, Eddie Murphy had the money stashed, and he was gonna distribute it when he got out.
Okay.
Or something like that, or run off with it. You know, he doesn't. He's not exactly a kindly character here. He's just, you know, somehow he has $500,000 from this robbery.
Sure.
And Nick Nolte. So these guys break out. They kill a couple of prison guards, and then they go to a hotel and they get some hookers. And
nice.
So there's your boobs at 14 minutes.
Nice.
And
see, okay, you're picking up on the style guide I sent you.
I am. I don't want to, but you gave detailed notes. I feel like you spent a lot of time on it, and I felt that I should honor that.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
And the cops pretty quickly track down where these guys are, but they think that it's just a couple credit card thieves because they're using a stolen credit card, and they don't know. They're just like, okay, we're gonna go find these credit card thieves staying at this hotel, and these cops go up and knock on the door.
Were they going to pay hookers with credit cards?
No.
Yeah, I don't think they had mobile point of sale in 1982.
Probably not. These days, I bet they all have the little like Apple chip reader in the top of their iPhone, so you can just swipe.
No, you just use Square Cash. You don't use Venmo because that goes out on social and cops track that.
Oh, okay. Wow. There you go. Learn something new every day.
Yeah, I'm also expanding my business.
So, Gans and Billy Bear, the cops knock on the door. Gans and Billy Bear basically just start shooting, kill them both in an extended gun battle where Nick Nolte was down watching the lobby. And a big theme right away in this movie is, and this is to fit really into our crime doesn't pay, but maybe it does theme, is that cops are losers.
Yeah.
All the cops in this movie pretty much come off as schlubby losers who are miserable and overworked, and and Nick Nolte, all of it personified perfectly by Nick Nolte, who plays a schlubby loser like you wouldn't believe.
Where is this set? Where are these cops this miserable?
It's San Francisco.
Okay, I believe it.
But it's early 80s San Francisco. So it's a little seedier, a lot seedier.
Yeah, I can see it.
And so Nick Nolte, he's overworked. He drives the ugliest piece of shit blue beat up convertible possible. And one of the guys in this extended shootout where Nick Nolte was out, he was watching the lobby while the other cops went up and broke in the door and got shot. And the guys they forced Nick Nolte to turn over his gun, and they killed the cops, and then they go on the run. And for some reason, because it's cop movie logic, they keep Nick Nolte on the case and like give him the case to follow all by himself.
Sure. Yeah, that's how policing could work.
So Nolte, figuring out who the guys were after this shootout, realizing their connection to this gang of robbers that of which Eddie Murphy was one, he goes to prison, finds Eddie Murphy, and gets him out on a 48-hour pass to help him track down his former gang members and bust these dudes.
All right.
That's the title of your movie.
Yeah. And do they say the title?
They say, yeah, you have 48 hours. So
nice.
There you go. Yeah.
And so what's Eddie Murphy's incentive here?
Eddie Murphy's incentive, well, his big incentive is that if Gans goes free, he will track down where Eddie Murphy stashed the money, because Eddie Murphy left the money in the care of one of the Super Weasley gang members who would not run off with it. And of course, Gans, being a psycho killer, immediately tracks down said Weasley gang member, kidnaps his girlfriend, and gets him to turn over the money eventually. The money is hidden in a parking garage. They have to wait till Monday morning for the garage to open. Apparently they broke out on a Friday. I don't know. They should have planned it better, but
I love that of the crimes here. They're like, okay, we'll kill a cop, we'll get some hookers, we'll steal over like $500,000, but we cannot break into this parking garage, you guys. Like, oh yeah, no, that's where we'll stop.
Yeah, no, we can't break into the parking garage. You have to wait till Monday morning for it to open. And your killing rampage where you've taken out like 5 people. Yeah, this is a bridge too far.
Right, like you can't pay like some fucking Sears mechanic to open, like get their garage door to open, or threaten to kill them. I mean, either of those work. threaten to kill their wife. It's an 80s movie. You just threaten to kill their significant other all the time. Why not?
Absolutely. So, and of course, from moment one, Eddie Murphy to point out how crime might pay. Eddie Murphy, even in prison, is infinitely cooler than Nick Nolte.
All right.
He's like hanging out in an armchair in his cell, listening to a Walkman, singing Sting songs, or the Police. Sing Roxanne. I can't remember if that's just Sting or if it's the Police.
Pretty sure it's the Police, but yeah.
Yeah, I think it's the Police. And
that adds an extra level. He's in jail singing the Police. I like it.
Exactly. And then they, and Nolte gets him out, and he comes out, and he's wearing this like $957 suit. And so, Eddie Murphy, way cooler at this point, because this is young Eddie Murphy. This is his first movie. This is before we knew that he would make The Clumps and Nutty Professor and all that other Norbit, all the other anti-cool shit that he would do to bring himself from being a fun, cutting-edge comic to being a comic hack who will make anything for $1.
Right. This is even before he did Raw. This is like pre-Purple Suit Eddie Murphy.
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
And so, yeah, Eddie Murphy comes out, and already you get the feeling like, man, being a criminal is so much cooler than being a cop. Nobody wants to be Nick Nolte.
Right. That's still true, by the way.
It is still true. It is still true. Even today, if you put Eddie Murphy and Nick Nolte in a movie, Eddie Murphy would still be a better choice than Nick Nolte.
Yeah, I'm aware that Nick Nolte is alive, but is he really?
Oh, I can't even remember the last thing Nick Nolte was in. He's in a TV series called Graves.
My point exactly.
Yeah.
Anyway. That said, Graves is a better place to be than, let's say, the Haunted Mansion.
Oh.
Or on Pluto Nash.
Pluto Nash, yes. I mean...
Oh, poor Eddie Murphy.
Eddie Murphy has really burned all of his, cool movie goodwill that he built early in his career.
He really did. There's nothing to fall back on anymore.
No. So... Murphy starts going. They start going and visiting all the same gang members that Gans and Billy Bear have already hit and either killed or shaken down.
All right.
And they're not getting anywhere really. And eventually, and you may remember this, like I said, you've seen it forever ago, but you may remember 48 Hours has one of the all-time great movie fistfights.
All right, well, let's hear about it.
Early action cinema, where finally Nick Nolte gets pissed off, and he tells Eddie Murphy, he says, look, either you tell me what's really going on, or we're going to fight right here. And he and Nick Nolte, it's not They Live great, which is truly the epitome of great movie fistfights.
Right.
But he and Nick Nolte, Eddie Murphy and Nick Nolte, just have a drag-out, knockdown fist fight in a back alley that's like an extended, couple of minutes long.
Nice.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And eventually it results in Eddie Murphy telling Nick Nolte about the parking garage, and then he's just like, man, we did all this running around for nothing, just so we knew where he would show up all along at this parking garage. And immediately Eddie Murphy just they drive there, they stake it out to wait, and Eddie Murphy's just like, I'm just gonna go to sleep, and makes Nick Nolte stay up all night watching it, which reinforces this idea that being a criminal pays off here and being Nick Nolte sucks.
I would much rather be the criminal, except for the fact that would make me Eddie Murphy. And I have some bad news for you really quick. Did you know that there's a 2013 TV movie, Beverly Hills Cop, with him in it as Axel Foley?
Oh, Lord.
Okay, well, brace yourself, because in production, there's a Beverly Hills Cop 4 with him as Axel Foley.
That's the Beverly Hills Cop 4 thing is less sad than the made for TV Beverly Hills Cop with him in it, which just seems sad.
It seems like a parody of his bad self.
Yeah.
Oh, this is sad.
Like nobody's even the Beverly Hills Cop TV movie. It doesn't even have information on IMDb. Like there's nothing. Like I'm not even sure if anybody's seen it. There's no like photo for it. There's barely, it has 247 ratings.
Yeah, it's poor Eddie Murphy. Now you made me sad after talking about what sounds like a very good movie.
It's a super fun movie. You just have to I just pretend like the original Beverly Hills Cop and this 48 Hours. I pretend that there were no sequels. The original exists and I don't have to know that anything else exists.
Okay, let's just pretend that Eddie Murphy died after doing the voice of the dragon in Mulan.
Oh, Lord. Might as well be true.
Maybe earlier. I don't know. But
maybe earlier.
So it'll definitely help this.
Yeah. So before we get too far, I want to also talk about one of the key scenes of this of 48 Hours that makes no fucking sense, but also really just drills home Eddie Murphy over Nick Nolte.
Okay, this sounds great.
And it's where they decide to shake down a bar where Billy Bear used to be a bartender, and Eddie Murphy bets Nick Nolte that he can shake it down alone and without any help. So Nick Nolte gives Eddie Murphy his badge and sends him in there and follows him in. And it turns out that it is a complete Confederate redneck bar in the middle of downtown San Francisco.
Oh my God. I was going to make a joke that, and then what? He orders a glass of milk, but you kind of went a similar direction, it turns out.
No, he orders a shot of vodka and the bartender asks him if he'd like a Black Russian instead.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
But it's complete with guys playing the fiddle and a topless dancer with dressed up like a Dallas Cowboys cheerleader kind of thing.
Oh my God, this is perfect.
And it's just the most redneck bar possible. And it gives Eddie Murphy a big chance to be super racist to white people in return, shaking it down.
Okay.
And just yelling at all of them.
About how they like camping and jam bands. They never dress right for the weather.
They don't feel cold.
Yeah, and they always go fucking fishing in lakes.
All this is true. Not where it goes, but
okay.
It's a key scene. It's fantastic. It is one of the glory points of the movie and especially because it makes no sense at all. This is San Francisco. Even if it's San Francisco in the 80s, a redneck cowboy bar that's not only not even ironic, but a racist redneck cowboy bar in downtown San Francisco.
Yeah, I feel like back then they wouldn't have needed to be so overt about it. They would just be like, oh yeah, you know which bar.
Yeah. Oh. Anyway, so eventually, you get a big series of chases in subways and through Chinatown and all sorts of stuff like that, where they chase down Billy Bear and Gans, and there's lots of, fun shootouts and violence and all sorts of mistakes of where the cops keep derailing their efforts because Nick Nolte looks like a loser and then nobody believes he's a cop. And obviously Nick Nolte getting shit on by his boss a bunch because he keeps fucking up the case and losing Eddie Murphy and losing the suspects and all that. And it also has one of my favorite movie lines in all of movie history.
Oh, let's hear. Is it a one-liner or is it actual dialogue?
It's basically a one-liner, but it's Nick Nolte is so his boss is chewing him out, and his boss is the stereotypical police chief, like always yelling and like it's your ass on the line if you screw this one up, kind of thing, and all that.
Yeah.
And his boss is chewing out is talking about how much of a loser Eddie Murphy is, and how much Nick Nolte shouldn't have gone out of his way to save Eddie Murphy over letting the suspects escape.
Okay.
And Eddie Murphy stands up and is like, this guy has busted his ass, and he is, like, he starts defending Eddie Murphy, and he goes out on a limb, and he's like, you don't understand what he's put himself through, and he's helped so much. And his boss turns to him and he says, just because you say it with conviction don't mean shit to me.
Yeah.
And it's the best line.
That is amazing. I am going to say that to the next person I see. I'm going to like go to the grocery store and say that when I'm checking out. That's amazing.
It is a fantastic line, and it's one of the great lines in action movie history, just slipped in there because it's such it's so perfect for any like big speech where somebody really like tries to stand up for something and say something meaningful.
And just cutting them off at the knees. That is beautiful. That can work in almost any situation.
It so can.
I love this already.
So, by the end, obviously, they catch the guys. It's a buddy cop movie. You can't be unsuccessful in a buddy cop movie. And one of the big successes to make sure that crime pays off in the end is Nick Nolte lets Eddie Murphy go have sex with this woman that he tried to pick up in a bar earlier.
All right.
So crime definitely paying off for Eddie Murphy here.
Yeah. Did he also get the money?
They get the money, and he lets Eddie Murphy keep the money because he sends Eddie Murphy back to prison, but Eddie Murphy only had 6 months left on his sentence.
Okay, so he gets laid. He does 6 in the clink, 3 with good behavior, and then gets out to $500,000.
Yep.
Crime sure does pay.
Exactly. It pays off wonderfully for him. It doesn't pay off. Yeah, well, Billy Bear and Gans, actually, their crime spree almost entirely pays off for them. The only point that they figure out, like the only way that Nick Nolte and Eddie Murphy figure out where they are is that they went and visited this woman that was supposed to be Billy Bear's old girlfriend. And later on, they're like, Eddie Murphy's like, when I'm feeling desperate, I'd go visit my girl. That's what I want to do if I was feeling depressed and if I was feeling bad. And Nick Nolte is like, oh, maybe we should go visit her again and see if he's there. And Eddie Murphy's like, that's a terrible idea. That's the dumbest thing in the world. Why would we do that? And he's like, well, I was just going to take you back to prison. I know you got lots to do. And he was like, oh, let's go visit and see if he's at his girl's house.
Oh, that's good. That is straight, like, cooked in a spoon straight into your veins, buddy cop dialogue.
It is. And that's how they find him. Like, that's it. Like, otherwise, the crime spree that these two guys were on was paying off for them completely. It was all working down the line.
Yeah.
So, there's really not... The only person it doesn't work for, crime doesn't pay for, is the Weasley guy who was holding the money for Eddie Murphy, because he just gets shot and killed and hassled he gets hassled all movie and then killed. So he's the only dude who really ends up having a bad time through being a criminal. Everybody else is good, and most of the cops either are assholes or losers or forgettable. So,
and do we have any information about their salary?
No, we don't get the I only make, $20,000 a year or whatever, any of that. I mean, Nick Nolte can afford an apartment in San Francisco, so he can't be making too little money.
In 1982.
True. He does ask at the end of the movie to borrow a couple of $1,000s from Eddie Murphy to buy a new car. So,
yeah, I think that we can definitely extrapolate from that yeah, crime pays a lot more than anti-crime pays. Fuck the police, do crimes, have fun.
yeah, worst thing if if you get caught, you can have your big Indian friend bust you out.
Yeah, every time.
It's worked. It worked in 48 hours. It'll work for you too.
Yeah, that's a service I need to start selling.
Big Indians to bust people out of prison.
Yeah, I need a shitload of big Indians.
Oh Lord. On that note, I think it's time to wrap things up. You can find me on Twitter at TheseAintTime. You can find Troy on Twitter at PDLMMA. You can find us on YouTube and on SoundCloud, Action Reaction. Give us a like, subscribe to our stuff, share it, all that good stuff.
Give us a 5-star review on iTunes, and if we're not on iTunes, then give us a good review, but make it 1 star on the canon on iTunes. Fuck them.
Yeah, we're not on iTunes. I tried. I'm trying to get us on iTunes, but so far, they tell me that you're not classy enough.
Is it because I think it's the sponsors, isn't it?
It may be because of the sponsors.
Well, okay, then let's just go back to our other plan of we'll get sponsored by the Cash App, Square Cash, and just talk about how that's the best way to like not get busted when you're paying for certain less than legal outside of Nevada services.
Women with illegal carnal knowledge is
or men.
Or men. People with illegal carnal knowledge.
Yeah, let's not discriminate here. Anybody who wants to get paid for some sort of physical work, then yeah, make sure you don't do it on Venmo. Cops track that shit.
All right. On that note, we are really closing the show now. So thanks, everyone, and tune in next time for more tips on where to score drugs and how to pay for hookers.
I got your bags, homies.